Hello, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. It has been so long since you guys have seen my bookshelves. I'm just gonna go into it for a minute before I get into the video, but some of you might know and some of you might not know. But if you've been watching my videos for more than a couple months, you might know that I used to always film here, and then we had our sewage line break, and since this is the lowest point in the house with a drain, there's a bathroom like in this room, all the sewage water flooded into this room and it destroyed my bookshelves. Luckily, absolutely none of my books were ruined. I was really, I guess, lucky, really just lucky that I didn't have anything on the floor, because sometimes I just like fucking leave shit on the floor, you know? Books, I mean. So, like, the rug in here was destroyed. My bookshelves like sucked up a bunch of the water, and like they weren't structurally they were okay, but some of like the particle board was peeling apart, and I was just really worried about like future mold problems because we live somewhere where it's warm most of the time. And so yeah, I had to wait. It was like not just getting this room back together, but also then I had to wait for 4 months to get my bookshelves because they were out of stock for so long. It wasn't just 4 months. It was 4 months after I ordered them that they came. I couldn't order them. The flood happened in November. I could not order them until April. And then now finally, it was like maybe the end of March. And finally they came this month. So, oh my God. Yeah, it's been crazy. So I'm filming where I want to be again. I'm so happy to have a place for my books. It's so much easier for me to film videos because, you know, when my bookshelves were toast, I mean, I just didn't have bookshelves. So like all my books were all over the place and they were in stacks, and it was hard to like, oh, there's 40 books on this stack and I have to get, not that many, maybe like 25 books on this stack, and I've got to get a book at the very bottom, and it was just hard to find things and hard to get them when I found them. And now, hopefully, I mean, now I know it's going to be a lot easier to be filming things. A lot more convenient, I guess. So I'm here today with a trope video. Today I'm exploring the trope of creepy kids in horror. And some of these kids are evil. And some of these kids are just unintentionally bad. I'll get into it. Here it is. The first book I'd like to talk to you guys about today is probably my favorite on this list. This is The Godsend by Bernard Taylor, and this was originally published in 1976. I read on the back of this that it was Bernard Taylor's first book. Haven't double checked, but I'm, you know, going to take that for what it's worth, I suppose. This is my first time reading any of Bernard Taylor's works. I have 2 of his other books that I'm very excited to get to now because I really enjoyed The Godsend. So this revolves around this small family. The parents are named Alan and Kate. They have 3 sons and a daughter. Their youngest son is really just a couple months old, so they've had a lot of kids in quite quick succession. And the mother, Kate, she is kind of going back and forth on whether she wants to have more children. She kind of would like to have more children because she would like another girl, but the husband's a little less keen on that, especially because, you know, they just have a really new baby. And in the very beginning of this book, they meet a strange woman while they're out at the park, and she is very pregnant, and she talks about how she has many children, but she seems very strange around the Marlowes, Kate and Alan Marlowes' children. Kate like asks if she wants to hold their young baby, and she's holding it like she doesn't know what to do, which was very strange because, you know, I've even just had like 1 baby and I still know how to hold a baby without being terrified by it, you know what I mean? So she's had like many children and she's very young still, and it's just kind of a weird situation. So then later, a couple days go by, and this woman just randomly turns up at their door. They live in a very small little village in England, in the UK, I think it's in England. So she's tracked them down, and then she's just there for a very, very long time and won't leave. It's really, she is just not good at reading the room. And finally, it's like midnight, and she's about to leave finally. You know, the Marlows are trying to be really gracious hosts and stuff, but they're having a hard time staying gracious because it's just such a weird situation where this woman is imposing on them. And finally the woman's about to leave, and wouldn't you know it, her water breaks and she has to give birth to her baby at their house. And the baby ends up being a girl, and then soon after the mother abandons the baby there. So the Marlows take on this child. They end up naming her Bonnie. They really love her. She's just cute as a button, and she's got curly blonde hair and blue eyes, and they call her Bonnie Blue Eyes, and it's just very adorable. As Bonnie gets older though, the other children start to have problems with her, and they're problems that they can't quite, especially the younger ones, verbalize to their parents what's going on. And it just gets further and further into this thing where, is there something wrong with Bonnie? Because, you know, the parents don't see anything, and it's just very sinister. You never really know if Bonnie is being purposely bad or not, because a lot of these things seem like they're a coincidence. And Bonnie's very young, so, you know, would she have the capacity to even know what she's doing? And I really enjoyed this. I do love like a bad kids book. I did see some reviews saying, you know, it's a little predictable, which I agree it is, but if you're getting into any sort of book with this trope, I think we probably know how it's going to go further down the line. Maybe not exactly how it will end, but you know, this was short and sweet. It's just over 200 pages. Oh, not even, it's 170 some odd pages. So it was, I read this over the course of, I don't know, a couple hours really. I picked it up one evening and I finished it quickly the next morning. It was easy to read, it was fun to read, and I really like this creepy kid book. Next, I picked up Come to Dusk by Bracken MacLeod. This was published in 2017, and I believe I've read one other Bracken MacLeod book, and I thought it was okay, maybe a little bit better than okay. And this one, I kind of felt the same about. This is about a young man named Mitch and his niece Sophie. And Mitch is basically now at this point Sophie's parent, Sophie's guardian. Sophie's mother has had kind of a bad history of bad boyfriends, getting into drugs and things where, you know, she just doesn't want the responsibility of having a child. So eventually she dumps Sophie off with Mitch and says, I'll be gone for a week. And then she just never comes back, and it's been more than a year now where Mitch has been Sophie's only parental figure. He's the one paying for Sophie to be alive, paying for all of her needs, paying for her to go to daycare. And this is especially hard for Mitch because he is a former convict, so he is rehabilitated, but he has a hard time getting a job with a good pay. He technically should not be caring for Sophie at all. Like, if someone found out that he was doing this, like if his parole officer found out he was not living where he's supposed to and taking care of this child that isn't his, he'd be in some serious trouble. So he's just really, everything he does is to keep Sophie safe and alive right now. And very early in this book, I promise this is not a spoiler, it says it on the back of the book, something happens to Sophie and she dies. And this is absolutely devastating to Mitch. It is like the end of his world. Not only because he loves Sophie so much, but because this is not even his child. And he's taken the responsibility of this and he's completely ruined it. And really what happened is not his fault, but he blames himself for it. So this really, for a while, delves heavily into Mitch's grief. It's very sad. But then things start to get a tiny bit better, but very much more confusing when dead children start to rise from their graves. And this includes Sophie. And the children are not quite normal. They kind of look dead, and they are not themselves. They're very quiet. They don't seem to have their personalities anymore. They're just very stoic and quiet, and it's like having a body there, but there's nothing inside almost. And a lot of the world starts to turn against these children, especially the religious communities. You know, they say that these are demons and that they should be killed, and like the parents did something wrong to cause this, and it's just bad. Like, this society is not treating these children good. No one really knows like why this is happening, and the children of the newly risen dead children don't even know what's going on or what to do or how to deal with this. So this is like doubly for Mitch, who like can't get help from the government and, you know, all these things because he's not even supposed to have Sophie. So yeah, things culminate in this big huge explosion. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to go too deep into the rest of the plot of this. I'll leave that up to you if you'd care to read this. I really thought that the beginning was so strong, and it was really hard for me to put it down. And then when it's like the real conflict kind of gets uncovered, I started to lose a little bit of interest. I just, I don't know. There's like kind of a bad guy who's really almost like comically bad. There's no real reason for it. It's hard without giving the plot away to explain some of my issues with the book, but the second half of it kind of fell apart for me. I didn't think it was terrible. I read the whole thing. I'd give it, you know, a mid-grade, 5 out of 10, 3 out of 5 kind of a thing, which is good, obviously, just not great. But I really liked the beginning of this story, and I liked Mitch. He was really a character that you could feel some feelings for, you know what I mean? You felt bad for him, and you felt the sympathy and empathy, but I don't know, it just kind of fell apart in the end for me. Next, I'd like to talk about My Sister Rosa by Justine Larbalestier, I believe her name is pronounced, if I'm remembering correctly. So this is more of a YA book. The main character in this is I think he's like 17, a 17-year-old boy named Che, and he has a younger sister named Rosa, who is, I don't know, maybe 10? It doesn't say in the synopsis, and I can't quite remember. She's like old enough to definitely know right from wrong, and she really gleefully does the wrong, and it's kind of up to Shay, he feels like, to teach her right from wrong, to cover up some of the things that she's done, and I don't know, try to almost be a parent for her, because their own parents are kind of absent. They are very focused on like their business and stuff like that. Chase starts to think that probably Rosa is a psychopath, and he does like all this research on it, and he keeps track of what she does, so he's kind of obsessing over it even, and things get worse and worse as she's getting older, and things get even worse when they move to New York City. They are originally from Australia, but they kind of move all over the place because of their parents' jobs, their careers. They meet another family who the parents have known for a long time. That family has children who are Che's and Rosa's ages, and things get really bad when Rosa starts to manipulate the children in this other family. It culminates in like this big terrible explosion. I will say, if you're not a huge fan of YA, maybe you wouldn't like this, because a lot of this is like Che's day-to-day life and also dealing with Rosa. So it's a lot of him doing school stuff, and he, you know, has dreams of becoming a boxer. So a lot of his boxer ring stuff, and he meets a young woman, so they have a relationship, and it's like a lot of that with this stuff with Rosa interspersed throughout it. So sometimes that was just a little much. Not that it was unrealistic for a teenager, I guess, but I just am very far away from my teenage years at this point, and so some of that was a little bit boring because I just like don't, also I don't care about boxing and stuff like that, so I just couldn't connect to that part of it. Otherwise I really liked this. I thought the ending was really good. It had a really great twist, and it kind of explained why maybe Rosa's parents, maybe it's not so much that they're too busy to deal with Rosa's problems, you come to find out. So yeah, I really liked the twist in this. The ending was good, and it was pretty good. All right, last, I would love to tell you about The Push by Ashley Audrain. This is a book that was published just this year. Was it this year or last? Yeah, 2021. So this came out early this year. This is a book I really looked forward to after hearing about it, because this is about a woman named Blythe. And this whole story is basically Blythe writing a letter about some of the things that's happened in her life, revolving around basically her family. And Blythe is a woman with a promising writing career. She gets married to a man named Fox, and they start a family. So they have their daughter Violet, and Blythe is so excited to be a mother, and then she feels like she's just not connecting to her baby so much. And it's not because she isn't trying, it's because Violet just like doesn't seem to like her. And it seems like Violet exhibits this bad behavior only in front of Blythe, and then when Fox comes home or when Fox is in the room, then it's much different. Violet definitely seems to prefer her father over her mother, and it's just kind of strange for a young child. So Violet gets a little bit older, and the problems don't stop. She is sometimes violent, and not just towards her mother, but towards other children too. And Blythe just like doesn't really know how to deal with this, because she's basically come from generations of really broken families where the mother figure has problems. Her grandmother had a mental illness which affected her mother, who was really in and out of Blythe's life, and then now Blythe is trying to be a mother but really has not had any good people helping her. She doesn't have a history to fall back on. She doesn't have any mother figures to look back on, and or even talk to. Oh, Fing Fing. Got a lap cat. So Blythe just really doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know if it's her. She really thinks it might just be her. But then they decide to have another baby. They have a young son named Sam, and Blythe then realizes, I think, for sure, that it's not something with her ability to mother. It's more like there's something wrong with Violet, because her and Sam get along together perfectly. Sam is a great baby. And so yeah, this follows basically many years of this many years with this family. Eventually something really tragic happens to them, and Blythe is convinced that Violet did it, and Fox is convinced that Blythe is fucking crazy. And so it's really tough on their marriage, it's really tough on their family, and it's just really kind of a tragic story. But the whole time you're really wondering if it is in Blythe's head, especially because this is all coming from Blythe's point of view. This is all her story. So do we just have an unreliable narrator or what? You don't really know until the very end, and it kind of cements things. And man, this is just a book I loved. It is not very fast paced, but it's not very long, so I didn't feel like it was a slug to get through at any point. Even when the plot of the story, like nothing super exciting was happening, it was still interesting to be with these characters and to learn about their lives, because man, it is just really rough. Really rough for these people. Definitely recommend this, especially if you liked Baby Teeth by Zoya Stage. This was a little, kind of more like a tamed down version of that, something that's more believable and with a better ending, I think. Got cat hair like on my face and in my nose and stuck to my makeup. Anyways, that is some creepy kid books. I think all 4 of these were books I would recommend to anybody who is interested in that trope. I love a good creepy kid story. Let me know what your favorites are, because those are, I mean, I will go out of my way to read books about creepy kids. So thank you all so much for watching. Keep your eyes out. I'm going to do a bookshelf tour. I think I'm gonna film it today actually, and I'm really like don't know how long it's gonna take me. Probably a long time. I was seeing some that are like an hour long, and it's like I have 800 books and I have like, I don't know, over 1,000 books, so I don't know. So I guess keep an eye out for that if you're interested. I will be showing you all of my fucking books, even, I don't know, even all these, you can't see them yet, but my mass market paperbacks that I've had to stack too deep, you know what I mean? So, like I said, keep an eye out for that. Let me know your favorite creepy kid book or how you felt about any of these 4. I know The Push is kind of polarizing because of the way that it's written. So yeah, let me know if you've read that and what you thought about it. I'd love to hear. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.